Well, that was absolutely horrifying. Hello, you beautiful creatures. How the devil are you? I hope you are well. If you're new here, my name is Lou, or Lucifer, as my friends like to call me. By my friends, I mean my Instagram account. I am showing you my cables. BRB. And we're back again. So I have decided to do something a little bit different. It's something that I kind of dabbled in earlier last year, but this year I really want to bring it to the forefront of the channel, and that is horror movie reviews. I'm absolutely obsessed with horror movies. My first horror movie experience, I was 6 or 7 years old. My parents decided that I needed an education, and I'm pretty sure I watched The Thing and Sleepy Hollow in the same night. Boy, was it a night. It really, really was, and that's when the nightmares really started. But thanks to that, I have now got a horrendous obsession with horror movies. They are my everything. They really are. And with the amount of amazing horror movies that are coming out now, I just feel like now's the time to do it. The first horror movie we are going to be reviewing is this makes me sick, Terrifier. Yes, Terrifier. You have probably seen Art the Clown all over the place at horror conventions, on different YouTube channels. There have probably been a horrendous amount of YouTube reviews over Terrifier. However, with the sequel coming out this year, they did say early 2022, so fingers crossed. Well, maybe not fingers crossed, but I imagine it will be coming out pretty soon. And we noticed that David Howard Thornton and Damien Leone were going to For the Love of Horror. And it was kind of one of those where we just wanted to broaden our horizon on horror movies. I am a very classical horror movie fan. Gareth is a massive slasher fan, and we just decided that we needed to kind of broaden our horizon. We also have a Shudder account that I feel is going to the dust at the moment. However, with all the movies we've been binging, that really isn't the case anymore. I'm definitely going to be doing a load more reviews. I decided that we needed to watch Terrifier because so far we're going to meet Nick Castle, James Jude Courtney, and I'm going to meet Tom Savini. And we just wanted to kind of flesh our day out a little bit more. So we watched Terrifier, and now this one has decided that she wants to meet Art the Clown. I don't know why, because he is absolutely horrifying, but we'll get into that later on. If you haven't seen the movie, I fully recommend watching it. I will pre-warn that this is going to be a spoiler-filled video, so if you haven't seen the movie and you don't want any spoilers, please click off now, because it's going to ruin everything for you. And with what happens in this movie, you really need to watch it if you want to watch it. Please don't get any spoilers from anybody, because it is horrifying. It really is horrifying. So Terrifier is a 2016 horror film written, co-produced and directed by Damien Leone. The film follows the horrendous antics of one Art the Clown. He is absolutely horrendous, and he is portrayed by David Howard Thornton, aka the man of my nightmares. He really is. He seems really sweet in real life and seems really lovely, but you can tell he takes a horrendous amount of pleasure in his work. So this time the clown is making his second appearance after his first appearance in the 2012 anthology film All Hallows Eve. After developing such a huge raving fan base, like, I don't know anybody in the horror community who doesn't know Art the Clown. They're basically getting a sequel, and with the ending, I'm happy about that. I really am. I'm looking forward to where they're going to take it. However, I will be talking about that later. So I'm going to set this up into 4 different categories. I really hope that's okay with you guys. It's probably going to be okay because you're watching this. You've all clicked off now. Great, love that. So we're going to be talking about the plot, we're going to be talking about the antagonist, we're going to be talking about the themes, and we're going to be talking about the practical effects. As you guys know, I really love practical effects. With growing up with practical effects, with working in the scare industry, having to do my own makeup, this, that and the other, I'm very heavily into my practical effects. So I'm going to do a kind of quick summary, and then we'll talk about the different elements of the films. I am going to be rating the different elements of it. So I'll be rating the plot, I'll be rating the antagonist, I'll be rating the themes, and I'll be rating the practical effects. So join me on this adventure. I hope you enjoy it. I'm looking forward to doing this for you guys. So the plot, it's the best way I could describe the plot is it's bloody good fun from start to finish. We are first greeted by an interview on a small screen TV. It's really cute and really vintage. I just love that. It's nothing to do with the plot. I just really dig it. We are greeted by a interviewer. She's interviewing someone that's kind of been through the wars. She does not look good. The tone is immediately set with the prosthetics. They really, really are. With the look of the victim, she looks absolutely horrendous. She's very difficult to look at. The interviewer brings that across perfectly, and it's basically an interview about the person who did this to this poor woman, and the fact that the body of this attacker, he's basically escaped the morgue, and all they know is his name is Art the Clown. However, the victim is absolutely adamant that, well, she saw him die, so it's impossible, but we know that that's not how horror movies go. We're then taken to Art the Clown basically preparing himself, and boy is it a preparation scene. It is absolutely horrendous. There are specific parts where he's making his weapons, he's collecting them all together, he's sharpening them, he's basically taking modern weapons like scalpels and knives, and he turns a load of them into a cat and nine tails. Like, it becomes very medieval, and it is absolutely horrendous. You can feel yourself kind of, oh, I don't like the look of that. I really don't like the look of that. You feel yourself squirming at the thought of somebody experiencing what these weapons can deliver. It really is a cruel scene, and it sets you up for how cruel and unforgiving the film actually is. After that, the interview is finished. She's in the makeup room, she's talking to her boyfriend, and she's berating this poor victim. Like, I feel sorry for her. It's horrendous, but it's foreshadowing at its best, because the interviewer basically says, oh, if I end up looking like that, just put me down. Just put me down. And we know with these types of cliches, she is going to be put down in the most spectacular way, might I add. The victim actually comes into her room and squeezes her eyes out. She just basically shoves her eyes out with her nails, and the practical effects again are absolutely vile. They really, really are. I feel like for the victim particularly, they hammed up the effects. They really, really did. They didn't have to go as far as they did. I think it was more of a case of, look what I can do this, and I can do it well. And that theme follows all the way through the film. There is not a single part where the practical effects are weak. They are absolutely phenomenal all the way through, but we are quickly taken away from that poor interviewer. No, I'm not going to say poor. She had it coming. She really did. We're taken away from her. She'd had her eyes gouged out, and this is where the main plot starts. What follows is a girls' night out turned lethal, and boy, don't I know what those are like. We meet the two main characters. We have Tara. She is played by Jenna Cannell, and Dawn, and she's played by, and I'm very sorry if I butcher the name, Catherine Corcoran? Yeah, I feel like that's the name. They've basically left a Halloween party, and they find when they get to the car, they're too drunk to drive, and decisions are a big thing that really annoy me in this film, but I think it plays on that annoyance. Obviously, you know, in a lot of horror movies, a lot of the tropes are, why are you making these stupid decisions? It really plays with that, because some of the decisions that are made, you think that yes, a valid, normal functioning human being would make those decisions. However, some of them you just, I really wish you wouldn't. But yes, they decide that they are too drunk to drive, so they decide to do something about it. However, before they go, Art the Clown basically sees where their car is. That's a big no-no for me, and I will actually get into themes a little bit later, but particularly as a woman, that really stresses me out. You never want someone who could potentially cause you harm to know where your car is and to know where your means of escape are, but he basically sees where their car is, and you know it's just all downhill from there. But they decide, after he kind of vanishes into thin air, they need to go and get some carbs. The girls then make their way to the pizza place, the pizzeria. They basically talk about the night. It seems like a pretty good night, to be fair. I'm slightly jealous. I haven't gone out in a very long time. But Art then once again turns up. You just love that. And it's one of the most awkward and horrible scenes I have ever seen. And there's no blood or anything involved. It's just him sitting across from them, making them feel absolutely awful. Well, making Tara feel absolutely awful. Dawn is just absolutely off her face, and I'm living for it. Also, the pizza slices, like, I'm British personally, we don't get pizza slices that big, so if they are genuinely that big over there, please let me know, because I would love a slice of that. That's besides the point. We're talking about the clown. So Art the clown, he is literally just making them feel absolutely horrendous. He goes to a dispenser machine and he gets out one of these little toy dispenser kind of things, and it's got a ring in it, and he goes over and he gives Tara the ring, and you just think, this is absolutely horrifying. And again, he's not doing anything, and I really like the idea that Damien has purposely decided to play out this scene for so long. With how much the plot is lacking, I feel like they really got the chance to play with how long these scenes play out. Usually in horror films, they don't last any more than, I don't know, 20-30 seconds, and I think that's a lot to do with production. It's a lot to do with the financial side of it, so obviously they can't really pay for the more gorier aspects of things, so they just hasten those scenes along so they can pay more on bigger scenes. I don't know, that's how I personally feel. Let me know how you feel about that. But they really play with making you feel uncomfortable, not just making something horrendously gory or something really, really brutal to look at. It's, again, like, that scene will stick with me forever, and it was awful. But you need to watch it and let me know how you feel about that scene, because I think it's phenomenal. I really, really do. And David Howard Thornton, he plays it phenomenally. He's so exceptionally playful with it. He really, really is. And you also see how dangerous he can be as well, because Dawn, Tara's friend, she actually goes over to Art and she kind of decides to play about a little bit, because she thinks, oh yeah, he's harmless, it's okay. He's not harmless. She actually sits in his lap and gets selfies with him, and you're like, oh, all the way through it, you're cringing so bad. But she does it. She has pictures with him, which again is massive foreshadowing for what's to come in the future. So Art then goes into the bathroom and he's booted out. He's completely booted out. And again, it's absolutely disgusting what he's done in the bathroom. But the pizzeria owner just boots him out, and then the girls promptly follow afterwards because they just want to get home. Turns out that he's literally made a massive mess of the bathroom, and if you are eating, I do apologise. He's spread certain things, fecal matter all over the walls, and he has spelled out Art. Yeah, it's that type of movie, and again, it's just absolutely disgusting to look at. Like, they didn't have to reach that level of disgust, but they really, really did. Then the girls go back to the car, but shock horror, one of the tyres is blown. We didn't see that coming, did we? Really didn't see that coming. Again, that plays into a massive fear of mine. Being followed home a lot when I was at uni, like that fear of somebody kind of knowing where you live and what's going on. It's incredible. It makes you very vulnerable. It really, really does. And the fact that Art knows where they are, knows where their car is, that made me personally feel uncomfortable. But because they've got a flat, they can't drive the car anywhere, so Tara decides to call her sister Vicky, which is another main protagonist. She's phenomenal. So we get Vicky to come and save the day, and Vicky is played by Samantha Scafidi. I really, really like her. I really do. We see her in her university dorm, her roommates come in and they're just like making out on the bed, and she's not having a good time with it. She's really not, and she basically says she'll come out, so I really like her for it. Tara decides she needs to go to a bathroom and decides she's going to go into a derelict building to do her business. Yes! I love that. I love all of this. I really do. I love I love how annoyed it makes you feel, because all the decisions they make, it's just like, please stop what you're doing right now and think about the consequences. But she basically gets allowed into this building by a guy called Mike. He is pest control. He's been called because the building's infested with rats. They're gonna make it into something else, or they're just basically gonna deck it out, turn it into some nice apartments. Tara goes to the bathroom, and that is where we meet the she's called Cat Person. And she's just wonderful. She really is. I hate, in low budget horror movies, I really hate the crazy person trope, but she played it very convincingly and very, very well. This poor woman, she's carrying this doll around and she's convinced that this doll is her child, like it's a living, breathing child, and it makes you think this person's actually got a backstory, something's really going on here. You care about this person, which I don't get a lot, because these crazy people tropes, a lot of the time they aren't played very well, but I really, really liked her version of it. And we are later taken to this scene where Art goes back to the pizzeria because he doesn't like how he was treated, and he just goes ballistic on both of them. There are two pizzeria workers, and he turns one into a human jack-o'-lantern, and he just basically obliterates the other guy, and it doesn't pan away. It really doesn't. I haven't watched a lot of things on Shudder yet, and I'm gonna change that immediately, but what I've noticed is there's such a grungy, dirty, horrible, disturbing vibe about it all. Like, a lot of the pieces on there, they don't pan away from these horrendous scenes, and I really like that, because we're so used to all these new horror movies coming out in the mainstream that kind of do. They are kind of washed down. They really are. Halloween Kills, I don't know about you guys, it was good and it was gory enough, but it didn't push it. It really didn't push it. And a lot of horror movies since then, I haven't felt it. I really haven't. So the fact that these films are coming out, I do really enjoy that. I'm finding that I'm beginning to enjoy the gorier side of things again, the more disturbing side of things again, and the filmmaker, he doesn't allow you to look away from that kind of stuff. It's like, he's going to do this, this is happening, and I expect you to watch it. You can turn it off and go away, but there's still at least 5 more minutes worth of like horror for you to deal with. So, you know, it's up to you, but it was amazing. It really was amazing. All the practical effects were fantastic, all the finger chopping, all the stabbing, all the... Yeah, I'm really getting into it. It's kind of worrying. After this bloodbath, Dawn hears on the radio that there is a manic. He is dressed up as a clown, he is running around, and he's basically killed 2 people already. She checks back through her phone and realizes that the guy she messed with, he's about to mess with her, and we hear the car door open, and you know it's Art. And again, it's another iconic picture of Art. He's literally just with this big smile on his face, turns and he just goes for her. And then Tara kind of suffers the same fate. She very quickly comes into contact with Art, and it's... The rest of the movie, it's a lot of chasing around. Like, most of the plot starts at the beginning of the movie. Again, it is a lot of chasing around. It's a lot of cat and mouse. This is a gore-filled Tom and Jerry. Tara is basically chased down the corridor to go to the pest control guy, Mike, and Art drugs her and she's knocked out, and the scene that follows is absolutely horrific. So I work in a dungeon, and our dungeon has a boat ride, and on the boat ride, one of the scenes is someone's getting sawn in half and when Tara wakes up, and after Art's kind of played around with her a little bit, showing her different instruments that he could use to basically tear her apart, he reveals Dawn, and she is in the exact same position as the poor guy is up at the dungeon, and you know what's going to happen, and it is brutal. It is absolutely horrible. It really is. My one gripe is, because he's using a saw and he's just one person, I don't think she would have split in half as quickly as she did. However, I haven't tried it out personally, contrary to popular belief. It was a moment. It really was. Like, everybody in the community talks about it. I was looking at a video of Grim Life Collective. They actually spoke to David Howard Thornton, and even he said, he was like, oh yeah, I know the scene you're talking about, because Grim Life Collective were talking to him about the scene, but they wouldn't really say anything about it. And he was like, I know exactly what you're talking about. You can see the glee on his face, like, you really enjoyed yourself, huh? But it was absolutely grotesque. Once again, the practical effects were absolutely delightful. They really were. With these practical effects, yes, you can kind of tell that they weren't real, but they're the most realistic that I've seen in a long time, and that is a massive kudos. Like, it's on the same level as Halloween Kills, you know, where he basically makes the human jack-o'-lantern. It was on the same level as that, and I can't compliment the filmmaker, the crew, enough for doing those fantastic practical effects. So Dawn is no longer Dawn. She is Dawn. She is two Dawn. She is split straight down the middle. And Tara escapes, and you think, oh my god, she's actually gonna live. She doesn't. She gets shot in the head, which I think is really interesting, because so far we've only seen Art use melee kind of weapons, hammers, knives, stuff like that. So when he pulls out a gun, it just made me laugh, because it made me think he's always going to be one step ahead of the game. And if I have any hopes and dreams of anyone leaving this experience unscathed, it's not going to happen. It really isn't going to happen. And the poor cat person finds out, and she sees everything, and she runs to go and tell Mike, the pest control guy. Mike, my guy, you really let me down in this one. He doesn't believe her at all, and Art finds out. And one thing I've learned in this film is, if you mess with Art, Art is going to mess with you twice as bad, or mess you up twice as bad. And he steals her baby. He steals Elizabeth, Emily, Elizabeth, something like that. Why is it always Emily or Elizabeth? It's, I don't know. That's one thing that I've got a gripe with. If it's a Victorian child, it's always Emily. Always Emily. But that's another gripe for another day. He steals this poor woman's only object that she actually cares about. And she tries to get it back, and she tries to appeal to his human side. And we know with a lot of these individuals, they don't really have one of those anymore. And she does the worst thing. She gets close enough to him and is basically like reaching out to him, and he lets her. You don't do that. It's basically a predator-prey situation, and you can see it happening, because she goes in to hug him. He kind of reduces this childlike state, and then it cuts away. And you're just left with your imagination going full overdrive, being like, I know exactly what's happened here. I really do. Anyway, Vicky finally turns up. Yes, we love Vicky. Vicky's amazing. She's going to For the Love of Horror as well, and I would very much like to meet her to be like, they're done you dirty, girl. She's a strong woman. I really like her. And she is messaged, because Dawn's phone actually works. There is a phone that works. Oh my god, exciting. Yes, no, it really isn't, because Art uses Dawn's phone to basically lure this poor woman down to the cellar, basement, garage, whatever you want to call it. It's a very strange space, but I'm not complaining. And she is lured down there, and she happens upon this body. Yeah, I know. She happens upon this body. It's lying face down on the floor, and you think, You think Tara, because it's got brown hair and this, that and the other. No, turns out that Art has used his arts and crafts, woohoo, and he has scalped poor cat lady person. He's not only scalped her, but he's Buffalo Billed her as well, and you know exactly what that means. He's taken her chest and he's wearing her chest, and he chases after Vicky, who has no idea what's going on, this poor woman. And his movement just completely unnerves me. It is horrifying to watch. There was this video that was going around Facebook, and I don't know if anybody else saw it, but this poor individual, I don't know if they knew what they were doing. They were skin and bone, and it was clear that they had a mental disorder. Something wasn't right with them. They were very poorly, and they were dressed up in some kind of chicken suit or something, but someone was just filming them, and it was horrible. But the way that Art moved, the way that Thornton made him move, it was exactly like that, and it was horrible to watch. It was also like interwoven with when Buffalo Bill has made his lady suit and he is admiring himself. It's that childlike wonder of admiring something new and something different, and he really envisioned that, and that really unnerved me. And Vicky's hiding away watching this happen, and just as he's about to come into her hiding place, one of Mike's friends, yay, he's got a friend, he comes to try and help. There's no point mentioning him or getting emotionally attached to him because he'd last T-5 seconds. However, the way that Art kills him is wonderful. He gets a big old knife, stabs it through his head, and just tears his head off. And it's wonderful to watch. It really, really is. And you think how much work those people put into that prop, and Art's just like tearing it apart. They're either really proud or really distraught, I can't tell, but it was really good, really good. So Mike's friend is quickly like made mincemeat of, basically. There's no point mentioning him, don't get attached, it doesn't end well. And again, there's a lot of cat and mouse involved. There's a scene that I particularly like where Vicky is kind of trying to find a way out, and she finds that Art has got a tricycle. I love him on that tricycle, I really do. He's like Pennywise and Billy at the same time on that tricycle, and Art doesn't do anything. He just rides around on his tricycle and lets Vicky watch. And it's that moment where you realise that he holds all the cards. He knows exactly what's going on. And it's just phenomenal to watch. It really, really is. I miss seeing horror icons, slashers, monsters, killers, whatever you want to call them. I miss seeing them play with their victims. I really, really do, because it shows how inhuman they are. Like, they know they're playing this game of this horrible game of, again, Tom and Jerry, cat and mouse. They know that they're the predator, and no matter where this victim goes, they're going to get them. It's inevitable that they're going to die. They're basically doing a Thanos, and it's wonderful to watch. It really is. But it also brings up that annoyance again, that want for the victim to get away, the hero to get away, the hero to be saved. And I really, really miss that so much. I was watching Witchfinder General earlier, and it's a phenomenal film. It really, really is. It's got Vincent Price in. Why wouldn't it be? And just seeing the protagonist trying to get away and trying to do the right thing, it really brought back that animal need, that want for them to get away, to live, to do something right. I think through the 90s you've had so many of these characters, so many of these unlikable characters, that you just want them all to die. I think Saw really did that for me. Seeing how corrupt everybody was, and seeing how nasty they could be and how vile people can be, and seeing them basically being tortured for it. You don't want them to be let go. So to have this happening in Terrifier was a complete breath of fresh air, and I absolutely loved it. I was actually rooting for the protagonist this time. She basically escapes with Mike. Mike actually turns up. Woohoo! Mike's here. He saves her for a little bit. They knock Art out. They call the authorities, and you think, yes, it's finally over. Something's gonna happen. They're gonna be fine. Art wakes up, of course he wakes up, of course he does. I've just dropped my tea all over me, that's fine. Art wakes up and he takes Mike out. How does he take him out? I think he crushes his head. He crushes his head like a pineapple, like a melon. He's not getting up from that. Anyway, Vicky runs into a garage. Yes, I know it mainly looks like a garage, but there's another bit that looks like a garage as well. Work with me. And she hides in there and you can hear the police sirens and it's so close and you think she's gonna be fine until Art runs her over with a car. Art runs over her with a car. He smashes straight through the garage's door and he runs her over like she's nothing. And this poor woman, she's just lying there helpless. And Art decides to eat her face. Which is weird that I wanted takeaway after it, but we work with it apparently. He was eating her face when the authorities turned up. And I like it because obviously they're giving the spiel of, you know, get your hands behind your head, you're being taken in for this, that and the other, you're being arrested, you have the right to remain silent. And he's just miming along and he's looking like, oh, what an inconvenience, this sucks. And he shoots himself. So I beg the question, does he actually know that he's capable of coming back? Because in All Hallows Eve he seems more like an entity, like a paranormal kind of being rather than a person, a man. So I'm just wondering if he's fully aware of that fact and he's just like, yeah, I can just kill myself and I'll come back again. This is fine. It doesn't matter what you do to me. But that's something that might happen in 2022. I don't know. Is he going to become more of a paranormal being? In that case, there is no way you're going to get away from him. The amount of times people could have got away from him and he was just too clever, too in front, it makes me think, does he have that kind of psyche or something going on? Regardless, he shoots himself, he gets sent off to the morgue. Poor Vicky, or what's left of her, gets sent to the hospital. She's alive, woohoo! However, it turns out that when Art gets to the morgue, he's not dead. He's not dead. Yeah, I was very unhappy about this. And the fact that I've got a photo up with him really stresses me out. Yeah, he's not dead. He wakes up and it's pandemonium. He basically kills the medical examiner and he's gone. So then we are turned back to the hospital and it's a year later and Vicky is ready to leave the hospital and her parents are really happy to see her. They turn the wheelchair around and shock horror, who is it but the woman from the interview beforehand with the mangled face. I know, I think when he was basically turning her face into chowder, I kind of clocked onto the fact that that's what it was. Because I'm an idiot and I don't know when plot twists are going to happen. To be fair, we did see Behind the Mask and we're going to review that as well. And I called that quite early on, so I'm pretty proud of myself. But it turns out that they just did a big flip-flop and all those events were from a year before. And that's the end of the story. But I'm not stopping there. I am not stopping there. I thoroughly enjoyed this film. I really, really did. I hope you guys did as well. It was an experience. It really was. From the plot, I'm going to give it 3 demons out of 5. Or 3 little devils. Let's call them little devils. 3 little devils out of 5. I think the plot was okay. It was simple enough that they could really concentrate on prolonging certain scenes. The pizzeria scene, the mutilation scenes, the gnawing in half scene. Yeah, I really, really liked that. I liked that they could give Art the Clown enough breathing space that he could actually show how horrendous he was. Like, that whole film seemed like a massive character development film for Art the Clown, and I I can't wait to see this become a franchise. I really can't. Like, the amount of work and love that's gone into it. Leone was amazing as a director, and seeing the behind the scenes stuff, he did the makeup as well. Like, that's phenomenal. You can really see that this guy cares about the film. Him and Thornton, they both deeply care about the film. They seem like really, really lovely, honest people, and they've actually made a breath of fresh air. They really, really have. My only worry is how many times can we see it before it gets boring? So I feel they're going to have to be creative. This whole film was very cat and mouse, and I really wish they made that decision instead of that decision, talking about the characters. Why are they so stupid? But again, I think they were bringing back the trope of the over the top, the ridiculous, a normal human wouldn't make these decisions, but they did anyway. But it also really played with the near misses, the oh so close kind of idea. There's so many moments in this film that I haven't talked about. I tried to do a very quick synopsis, but obviously it's not a quick synopsis because I can see how long this video is lasting for. I tried to do a very quick synopsis of it. I didn't include a lot of the other stuff, but there's a lot of very touch and go moments, and you think they're gonna get out and they don't, and it's the first film in a long time that's really brought that out of me. So, you know, whilst the plot was simplistic, I did really enjoy it, so that's why I'm giving it a 3 out of 5 little devils. Okie dokie, so moving on to the antagonist, I'm going to have to give him a solid 5 out of 5. He was absolutely amazing. Thornton was phenomenal in his character work, and the fact that Art the Clown is silent and he got so much across is amazing. It really is. He really worked with his physicality. He's a tall boy. He's a very tall boy, and I'm gonna say that to him when I see him. You're a tall boy, and he does play with that physicality. He does play with that danger. I don't know about you, but personally, I don't like people who are horrendously taller than me. I find it very intimidating. Nothing against the person, I'm sure they're lovely, but in that kind of situation, yeah, it would completely take me out. He really works that character. He really does. If you're looking for sadistic, creepy, funny, and just manic, he's manic, and there's no humanity in him. There is no humanity whatsoever. Like, looking at that scene specifically with the cat lady trying to appeal to his humanity, his inner child, it's not there, and they are the scariest type of people. The people who do look like people who just aren't people anymore, if that makes sense. Whereas you look at somebody like, I don't know, you look at a creature and you don't expect there to be any humanity there, so it makes it all the more distressing when something that's perceived to be a person isn't a person mentally anymore. That makes them far more dangerous and far more harder to negotiate with. Yeah, I really like him. When there's a quote on the poster that says, "Move over, Pennywise, there's a new clown in town," and I thought, no, that's impossible. That's impossible. Particularly after the Bill Skarsgård version of Pennywise we got. But no. Pennywise looks like a kitten compared to Art the Clown. He really does. But at the same time, you can't really compare them because one's an interdimensional being and the other one is apparently a person. So you can't really compare them, and I really don't like videos that try to do that because you can't do it. You really can't do it. Would I say he's earned his spot next to all the other horror icons? Yeah, I would, because he's got a clear understanding of his character. That whole movie, again, was a massive character arc, a character development, and just seeing where he's going to go from here is very exciting to me, and I haven't said that about a lot of films. I really haven't. There's a lot of moments where I've looked at a film series or a film franchise. Let's take Hellraiser, for example. The first 3, and the third one's at a push for me, they're good. They're really good. I adore Pinhead in those first 3. However, after that, it just gets a bit too silly for me personally. Same with Freddy Krueger. They had to kind of reimagine his character to get that fear factor back, because he basically just became this entity that, you know, whilst the deaths were cool, they were playful, but, you know, you're not intimidated by the guy anymore. Nightmare on Elm Street, the first one, is my favourite. That's my Freddy, because he's just horrible. He's horrible, horrible, horrible. It's the run I don't like, but it's just this evil entity that comes into your dreams and shows you no mercy and doesn't talk that much and doesn't have that many quips, whereas in the later films he does, and it just takes away from it. Jason, I'm not as familiar with the Friday the 13th series. I'm hoping to change that, but sending him out into space, like, what's that all about? You know what I mean? Why is it always space? Please don't send us out into space. Wouldn't appreciate that at all. But I am genuinely excited to see where Art is going to go. I really hope that his character isn't wrecked, and it won't be Leone's fault. It'll be bigger corporations, bigger companies. They'll be asking more of him. They'll be doing this, that and the other, and it happens to every single character. It really, really does. Once they know they can make a franchise out of it and can make lots of money out of it, the characteristics start going, and then it just becomes this merchandise mad money making situation. I don't know if you guys feel like that, but that's genuinely how I feel. I feel slightly protective of Art the Clown because I've seen this new character come into light, and I'm just worried about what they're going to do with him in the future, because you've seen it done with so many of the other horror icons, and you've had to see how many times they've had to retcon things, like in the Halloween series. I've only watched the first Halloween and the 2018, I believe it was, Halloween and Halloween Kills. However, I have seen quite a lot of bits throughout the rest of the Halloweens, and the fact that they had to get rid of a lot of that lore, that story, because it was just getting too silly to bring back the original concept. I hope that we can just skip over all of that and just keep with the original Art the Clown concept, that he is this absolute monster that makes you feel like you're going to be physically sick, because I haven't had that from a character in a very, very long time. So really strong, really amazing, physicality phenomenal, working with the costume again, amazing facial features. They were really good, really, really good. Loved them. And just how horrific he was, he definitely earns a 5 out of 5. Good job, Art. Good job. And now we're moving on to the themes. I like to look at a lot of themes from horror movies. I really, really do. I like to look into the deeper side, the deeper psyche of horror movies. However, with Terrifier, I am going to have to do a 2.5 out of 5. Again, I think this was just a really simple concept. This was a cat and mouse game. This was kind of a character development movie, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It really isn't. I like how they didn't give too much of Art the Clown away. They didn't give him a massive origin story. He's just there. One of the main themes I would take away from it, and it's personally from my circumstances, if you agree with it, great, I'd love to hear that. If not, that's fine. Everybody's different. I felt that it was a commentary on how people aren't safe at night. Still, they're still not safe at night. You know, there have been a lot of times where I have come home from nights out and I'm lucky to have got home alive. The amount of times I've had to walk home with my keys between my knuckles because I genuinely didn't think I was going to get back. Yeah, it's a reality, unfortunately, and it happens to a lot of people. So I think it really played on that. You know, these women were just hoping for a night out and they never came back. Obviously, like, the circumstances were very over the top, and that doesn't happen on a regular basis, but that's the kind of aspect that really sat with me and really hit me. Also, I like, again, that it just brought back the general horror tropes. I really dig that. You know, the yelling at the screen, the why are you making those decisions, because that's really stupid and you should have done that decision instead. I like that. I really do like that. It brought back a lot of original tropes, and it played with a lot of original tropes but it didn't make it obvious, it didn't poke fun at those tropes, it just happened as naturally and organically as possible, and that's what I really liked about that. But again, this is only going to be a 2.5 for me this time. It might be different in the other films, I don't know. And finally, the practical effects. Yes, they were just 5 out of 5 all the way. I love and worship practical effects. I really do commend the people that can work them and show them off in such a fantastic way. Everything just looked amazing. The reason again that I love practical effects so much is because it's more tangible than CGI. Like, it's an actual thing. It makes it look so incredibly organic and it makes it look real, which brings out much more of a fear instead of seeing something CGI'd. Let's take, for example, is it The Conjuring 2? I think it is, with the Crooked Man. Yes, those scenes where he was kind of coming and going, the CGI was incredibly obvious, and because of that, I couldn't care less about him. I really couldn't. I hate CGI'd antagonists. I hate CGI'd mush, people mush. I'll call it people mush from now on. I feel like that's gonna stick. I hate CGI'd people mush. Sometimes it's easier for people to do. They don't necessarily have the practical effects team on hand, and that's absolutely fine. I'm not gonna call you out for that. But if you do have a big enough budget, why just not use the practical effects? You know what I mean? And you're going to get so much more respect from the horror community for putting in that effort, to see that beauty unravel, to see all that hard work that people have done unravel. There's a very good series at the moment on Shudder called Core, and it's all the backstage stuff in horror movies, and one of them, they actually make a severed head and they deconstruct it. They take out all the different bits and it's very anatomically correct, and that has taken someone, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks to make. And to just see all that hard work being unraveled, it makes you appreciate the production so much more. And I really hope they keep that organic practical effect kind of look, kind of idea going, because with sequels and with things getting bigger and bigger and bigger, with more of a budget, it is very easy to go over to the CGI aspect of things. And I'm just I'm really hoping that that's not going to be the case. I'm really not. I've completely fallen in love with Terrifier because of how much love has gone into it, from the actors, from the director, from the crew, from the makeup artists, from the practical effects team. I really do love this film, and it scares me. It really does scare me. I haven't had a film in a long time that scared me so much, because it is so organic, so tangible, so believable, and you're just a nasty piece of work, man. I can't believe I'm going to be meeting you for the love of horror. That really scares me, but I love this film. You should definitely watch it before going to see Terrifier 2. There's a lot of people that go and see sequels at the moment that don't watch the original film or prequels. There are a lot of people that went to see the second Candyman without watching the first Candyman, and they didn't get it. Of course you're not going to get it. But I do really recommend it. I can't wait to go and see Leone and Thornton at For the Love of Horror. They've easily become icons for me. They really have. I can't wait to see what they get up to. If you like this review, I do know it's very long, but I wanted to do more of an in-depth review. I basically wanted to do a analysis for you guys, look at all the deeper things, look at all the things that are involved. I hope you guys liked it. I really do, and I'd love to do this more often. Let me know if you liked it. Let me know what films you'd like me to do. I hope you've had a good day. If not, that's okay. Always remember, tomorrow's a new day. See you later, guys. Bye.